In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to create a custom Discord bot, which by the end of this video will be able to reply to messages and also have support for custom/commands. This series will focus on creating an economy Discord bot, but the knowledge you get out of this can be used to build pretty much any feature that you want for your bots. Now, before you jump into this, it's recommended that you know at least the basics of JavaScript. If you don't know anything about JavaScript, I'll have links down below to a few resources that personally helped me get started. Anyway, open up your favorite browser and head over to this link. This is what's called the Discord Developer Portal, and make sure you sign in if you haven't already. If this is your first time creating a Discord bot, you should have no applications over here. An application is basically like a container for your bot, and to create it, click on New Application and then give it a name. By default, your bot will inherit the name of your application, but don't worry, you can change this later on. With our application now created, we can go ahead and configure our bot, so go to the bot section. Now the first thing that I want you to do is reset your bot's token by clicking the reset token button. If you have 2FA enabled, go ahead and put your code in here, so I'll be right back. You'll notice once you reset your token, you're gonna get a very long string, and this is basically your bot's password. So be careful with your token and make sure to not share it with anybody else. If it does ever get compromised, just come here and click on reset token. For now, I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this token and store it somewhere safe. Once you have your token copied, we can now go ahead and configure the rest of the settings for our bot. The first thing that we need to take a look at is public bot, and this is completely optional, but I like to disable this because during development, I don't want other people to have the permission to invite this bot to their own servers. So by disabling this option, only I will be able to invite this bot to other servers. Now scroll down further and under Privileged Gateway Intents, go ahead and enable all three of these settings. I'll explain later on what these do, but for now just understand that turning these on will help our bot get extra information from the Discord API. So go ahead and click on Save Changes, and now we can go ahead and invite this bot to our server. So of course, to invite a bot, we need the bot's invite URL, and to generate a link, click on OAuth 2, then click on URL generator. From here, you can generate the different types of links that you want for your application, but the one that we want is bot and also application.commands. Application.commands will allow our bot to have custom/commands. Now scroll down and you can give your bot any permission that you want. Since I'm going to be inviting this bot to a custom test server, I can just go ahead and give it administrator permissions because I don't really have anything to worry about. I'll now go ahead and copy this link and head over to Discord. Back in Discord, I'm going to paste this in my test server and click on this link. From here, I can directly invite this bot to my server. Okay, so now we have our bot inside our server, but you'll notice it is offline. Don't worry, we'll work on that in just a moment. Now, as mentioned at the start of this video, we need to set up what's called an environment to help develop our Discord bot. So back in your browser, head over to nodejs.org, and from here, go ahead and download any version of Node.js that you want. Now, once Node.js has been downloaded, go ahead and open up the installer and click next a bunch of times, and it should install automatically. I already had Node.js installed, so this process was pretty quick. However, it may take some time for you. Now let's confirm that Node.js was actually installed on our computer. To do that, go ahead and open up your terminal. And if you're on Windows, you can open up PowerShell or command prompts. Once you have it open, go ahead and type node-v and hit enter. This should now give us the version of Node.js that we just installed. And if this does not show up for you, that means you did something wrong with the installation part. Now the next thing that you need is a code editor. I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. And if you want to use the same code editor, head over to this link. Honestly, the installation process is pretty similar to Node.js. Just click download and open up the installer, click next a bunch of times, and you should be good to go. Our development environment is now set up and we can open up our code editor. If you want to know what theme and extensions I use, I'll have them listed down below in the description. Now, once you're in Visual Studio Code, go ahead and open up your folder, and I'm just going to create a folder right here. And I'm going to call it Economy Bots. Once you create the folder, go ahead and open it. Now, once you have your folder opened, we need to initialize this directory as an npm project. To do that, go ahead and open up your terminal, which you can do by clicking on View, then clicking on Terminal. Once you have your terminal open, you can initialize an npm project by typing npm init-y and hit enter. This should create an npm project with the default values, and you'll also notice we now have a package.json file. This file will be storing all our project information in here, such as what libraries we're using. Speaking of libraries, I think it's time to install our libraries. So open up your terminal once again and type npm install. And over here, we can start by installing discord.js. So type discord.js. This library will help us communicate with the Discord API much more easily. And the next library that we need is .env. This library will help us store our environment variables securely. So things like our bot token. Finally, we need a command handler. So I'm going to be installing djs-commander. Now hit enter and wait for it to install. Once it is installed, you'll notice that our package.json file was updated and we now have a bunch of dependencies with their versions. We also have a node modules folder with all the files for our libraries. Now let's go ahead and create our environment variables file called .env. And the first thing that we're going to be storing in this file is our bot's token. So go ahead and type token equals to, and I'm going to paste my token right here. Now you can save your file and close out of it. Now let's create an entry point for our project. So create a new file and call this index.js. The first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be importing .env so that we have access to our environment variables. To do that, go ahead and type require.env/config. We can also go ahead and import our Discord.js library. And from this library, we're only going to be importing a few things. So let's go ahead and destructure it. And the things that we need are client and intent bit field. Now let's go ahead and define our client object, which is going to be our bot object. So some people like to call this bot, but I'm just going to go ahead and call it client and set it to a new instance of the client class. We're going to be passing in an object, and the first property is going to be intents. This is going to be an array of intents, and the first value is going to be intents bit field .flags.guilds. Now remember when we enabled intents back in the Discord developer portal, basically these intents allow us to get more information from the Discord API. So guilds in Discord development basically means servers, and including this intent will basically allow our bot to get information on servers. We can now duplicate this and do the same for guild members. And as the name suggests, it's going to give us information on server members. We can duplicate this again, and this one is going to be guild messages, and duplicate it once again, and this one is going to be message content. These are the only intents that we really need for this video. However, as your bot grows, you are going to require more and more intents for different types of functionality and information that your bot might need. So if by any chance you're noticing that you're getting incomplete information from the Discord API, it probably means that you're missing some intents. Now we're going to be logging into our bot using client.login, and this takes in our token. If you remember, our token is stored in the .env file. So to access that, I'm going to say process.env. and then the name of the variable, which we stored as token in all capital letters. We can now save this file and run this JavaScript file. And to do that, open up your terminal and type node index.js. Now nothing's really going to show up in the terminal, but if I go to Discord, you'll notice our bot is now online. However, let's say we want a message to appear over here every time our bot comes online. To do that, we can use an event listener. We use event listeners to listen for different types of things. So there's an event listener to listen for whenever our bot comes online, and that event listener is called the ready event listener. To use this event listener, we can say client.on, and then you pass in the name of your event. In our case, we're using the ready event, which is triggered every time our bot comes online. And the second argument is going to be a function. Inside this function, you can write any code that you want to run whenever your bot comes online. So in our case, we want a console log that the bot is online. If I save the file and now restart our bot using Control-C and then node index.js once again, you'll notice we now get a message saying the bot is online. So it's a bit more informative this time, and we'll know whenever our bot is ready to be used. Now let's say inside our server, we want to send a message saying hello, and we want our bot to reply with hi. The way we can do that is by using another event listener. This event listener is called message create, and it's triggered every time our bot receives a new message. Just like our ready event listener, we can create this by saying client.on and the name of the event, which is message create, and then of course a function once again. This function also gives us access to the message object, which is a huge object structure with all the information that you need about your message, such as who sent it, what the message says, and which server it was sent in. So just to test, let's go ahead and console log what this message object is. I'm going to save this file and restart our bot once again. Now back in Discord, I'm going to send a message saying ping. And if I go back to my code editor, I'm going to see a huge object with all the information about our message, such as the channel ID in which it was sent in, the guild ID, which is the server ID, the ID of the message itself, when it was created, and a bunch of other information. The one we're interested in now is the content property. This basically shows the content of the message itself, which in this case is ping. So we can use this in conditions and reply to the message accordingly. So inside our code, let's go ahead and remove this console log statement and check what the message says. So we can say if message.content exactly equals to hello. In that case, we can reply to the message using message and then a method called reply, and then you can pass in a string. So I'm just going to say hi. Now I'm going to save the file and restart our bot once again. Back in Discord, if I type hello, our bot is going to reply with hi. And if I send any other message, the bot will not reply. Now, one thing you'll not notice is when we sent our hello message, it triggered an event listener and our bot checked for the message content of hello, and then it replied with hi. However, when our bot replied with hi, that triggered another event listener inside our code. That also made our bot check for this content. We don't really want to do that. And let me show you why. If we reply with the same message, such as when we say hello, and our bot replies with hello, let's save this and restart our bot. If I now send hello, our bot is going to reply to itself. Basically, this is like an infinite loop. It keeps replying to itself. I can go ahead and stop my bot using Control-C. What happens is when we send a hello message, our bot then replies with hello. However, sending a reply also triggers this event once again, causing it to reply to itself over and over again. Of course, we don't want to do that. So the way we can avoid that is by checking if the message author is a bot. If they are a bot, then we'll do nothing. So right before this condition, I'm going to write another if statement saying if message author bot, and if this statement is truthy, then we will return from this function. Basically, the code below it will not be executed. If I now save my file and restart the bot, back in Discord, if I now type hello, the bot will reply with hello, but it will not reply to itself over and over again. Now, all the code inside our index.js file is cool and all for a very, very small project. However, the bigger our bot grows, the more difficult it's going to get to manage all in one single file. Let's say you have a bunch of code inside the ready event listener. However, each line of code may serve a different purpose, and your code will get really messy really fast. To avoid this, we can use something known as an event handler. The library that we installed earlier called DJS Commander can be used for that. So let's go ahead and import that using require. From this library, we're going to destructure command handler. And to use this command handler, right before all these other event listeners, we can say new command handler and then pass in an object as well. Now the first property inside of this command handler object is client. So just go ahead and pass that. And the next property that we need is events path. This is going to be the path to our events folder. So let's create a folder in our root directory called events. And this is where all our events will be stored. So let's say we have a ready event. We can create a folder for it called ready and make sure the name exactly matches the name of the event. We also have an event for message create. So we can create another folder inside the events folder called message create. So this events folder right here is our events path. And to define that, we're going to import another library called path. So const path require path, and we can use it down here. So we can set our events path to path.join __ dir name, which is the path to our current project folder. And the second argument is going to be the folder name itself, which in my case is called events. So I'm just going to write it down here like that. With our events path now defined, we can move our event listener functionality to their own files and folders. So let's start with this console log statement right here. Let's say we want to store this in its own file. So I can go ahead and copy this code right here. And inside of this ready folder, inside the events folder, I can create a new file, and you can call this whatever you want. I'm just going to call it console.log.js because it's much easier for me to understand. Now, DJS Commander requires you to export a function from every single file that you have inside of these folders. So to export a function, we can say module.exports and export an arrow function. Now, you can look at this function the exact same way as you look at this function. Any code that goes inside of this function will be executed when the ready event is triggered. So we can go ahead and copy this console log statement and just paste it inside over here. If I save this file and I restart my bot, you'll notice we have two console log statements saying the bot is online. The reason for that is we have two event listeners, one in our index.js file and one inside our events folder. So we can go ahead and completely remove this event listener as we don't need it anymore. Let's now work on the message create event listener. I'm just going to go ahead and copy all of this code right here once again. And inside the message create folder, I'm going to create a file called reply to hello.js. And just like the console log file, we have to export a function using module.exports. And inside this function, you can write the code that you want to execute whenever the message create event is triggered. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste the code that I copied earlier. However, one thing you might notice is that we don't have access to the message object. Just like the index.js file, we can use it as a parameter. So go ahead and write it over here. So go ahead and save this file, and we can remove this event listener from the index.js file as well. You can already notice our code is much cleaner and much easier to maintain like this. Let's now restart our bot and test if everything is working just fine. Back in Discord, if I type hello, I am going to get hello as the response once again. Okay, so events are cool and all, but we also need /commands. Now, if I open the Discord.js guide, you'll notice there's a whole section just for registering commands. This can be a very tedious process if you're a beginner, but don't worry. The library that we're using called DJS Commander will help us automatically register commands for us. So just like our events folder, let's create a new folder for our commands. This one is going to be called commands. And of course, to treat this like a commands directory, we have to define it inside of this object right here. So go ahead and define commands path using path.join __ their name and commands. We can now save this file and go ahead and create our first command. So I'll first show you how to register the command, and then later on I'll show you how to handle that command. So let's go ahead and create a new file inside of the commands folder, and I'm going to call it ping.js. Now, unlike our event files, this one exports an object. So to export an object, we can say module.exports and export an object like this. Now, this object, first of all, has the data property, which is an object, and it also has a function called run, which is always called whenever the command is executed. I'm going to get back to this run function in just a moment, but first let's go ahead and define the structure of our command. So first of all, we want our command to have a name, which is going to be ping, and make sure your command name is in all lowercase characters and has no spaces. The next thing that we need is the description, which is replies with pong. To be honest, this is more than enough to go ahead and register the command. So let's go ahead and save this file and restart our bot. You'll notice it says the bot is online, and then we get a new message saying registered command ping. This is basically the DJS Commander library automatically checking the commands folder and searching for any files with the data property, and then it registers the command based on that. So if we go back to Discord and type / and we go to our economy bot, you'll notice it has a ping command. Of course, if we try to run it, nothing's gonna happen. And the reason for that is, of course, because we don't really have any code inside of this run function. Now, before showing you how to handle commands inside of this, I want to show you how to handle it using event listeners. So back in our index.js file, we can create a new event listener by saying client.on, and the event which is triggered whenever a / command is executed called interaction create. Now, interaction create is not only for / commands, but also for application commands and buttons and stuff like that. So that means we have access to the interaction object itself, which has all the information about this interaction. Now we can check if this interaction is a / command by writing an if statement. And inside this if statement, we can say if interaction dot is chat input command. And this is a method. And if that's the case, then we can run the code inside. However, this is triggered for every single slash command. How do we know the name of the slash command? Well, we can do that by saying if interaction.command name exactly equals to a specific command name, which in our case is ping. So if that's the case, then we can reply to this interaction by saying interaction.reply, and we can say something like pong. So I can save this and I'll restart my bot. Now back in Discord, if I try to run this command once again, I'll get a response saying pong. So now that you have a basic idea of how slash commands are executed using event listeners, we can go ahead and write all of this functionality inside of this function over here. Now the great thing about this command handler is that you don't really have to run all of these checks. It automatically checks for you if it's a slash command, and it automatically checks for you what the name of the command is. So all we have to deal with is the reply. So go ahead and cut this, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove all of this code right here. Now inside our run function, I'm going to go ahead and destructure interaction. And inside our function, we can reply to this by saying interaction.reply and pong. So if I now restart my bot and I try to run the command once again, it will still reply with pong. However, we did not have to deal with a bunch of event listeners. Now let's say you want to register another command. I'm going to go ahead and copy the entire structure for the ping command and create a new file called hello.js. I'll paste it and change the name to hello, and I'll change the description to replies with hi. And of course, inside our run function, we're going to reply with hi and save this file. I'll restart my bot. Now it says registered command hello. And if we go back to Discord and type /hello, we'll see our slash command and it will reply with hi. Now let's say you've registered a command, but you don't want it anymore and you want to delete it. The way you can do that is inside of your command object, you can add another property called deleted and set it to true. If I now restart my bot, it will say it deleted the command hello. So back in Discord, if I type / once again, and check my economy bot, the hello command is gone. In the next video, we'll be looking at how to set up a database as well as a daily command. So make sure you're subscribed for that.